Mr. Prime Minister al-Maliki, thank you for inviting us here to the governmental palace with Bass's government. Welcome to France 24 and to RMC International.
Welcome to Iraq.
Mr. Prime Minister, are you sure that you'll win the next elections and form a government?
Well, you've asked two questions. First of all, am I going to win? That is certain. Nobody can put that in doubt. However, what will be my percentage? Well, we'll have to see how the undecided are going to vote. How many of these undecided voters are going to cast a ballot for us? So what kind of majority will we have after the election? I don't believe we'll have an absolute majority of 163 in Parliament. So to form the new government, we will have to forge a political coalition. But once again, and as to whether our list is going to win, that's certain.
Mr. Prime Minister, during the elections, we've heard a lot of statements from Iraqi leaders on Saudian interference or interference from Iran in the electoral process. Now, people in the streets in Iraq are saying that there's an American scenario here to support the former PR Ali and there have been other statements too to the effect, your statements, that have been issuing warnings on attempts, attempted electoral fraud. Do you have information on outside interference to amend and change the electoral result in any way, and to change the political scene in Iraq?
Quite frankly, and I'll be very clear, this election will enable us to build Iraq's fate. There's been a lot of propaganda, a lot of statements, a lot of public events as well as things going on in secret. People are interfering in our country. Some of this interference is certainly being carried out by factions that are seeking to protect the safety of other countries. So what we can say is that in neighbouring countries, these countries that might be interfering in our affairs, but we could actually interfere in their affairs as well, in the way they run their country. There's no doubt about this kind of interference. This can be clearly seen on TV, sometimes in interviews with leaders of political parties in other countries that talk about a victory of their side in Iraq. So all of this enables us to confirm that there is interference going on. A lot of agents and money have been introduced into Iraq. That is beyond any doubt. Nonetheless, we are confident. We are very proud of the Iraqi people. We are proud of all the progress we've achieved, and inshallah, the outcome of the election will force other countries to become realistic, because most of the countries that are interfering in our affairs are realistic.
A decision was taken by the Commission, a Responsibility and Justice Commission, coinciding with the preparation of these elections, whereby that this timing had to be complied with.
Well, here, the point is the law needs to be applied. The electoral law stipulates that every candidate must meet some conditions. First of all, in terms of diploma, not having any criminal record, be of the right age, and must not be a former Ba'athist. So the only point here is that the law needs to be implemented. Every candidate needs to fulfill these conditions. Now that this election has started, the procedure needs to be applied. That's natural, normal. This is not a surprise procedure. Every candidate must meet the conditions of the procedure.
But pragmatism and security would it not prompt you to defer this decision to some time in the future?
Who has the right to postpone a legal procedure? Can anyone, for instance, be accepted if he doesn't have the right diploma? Can we accept a candidate who's a criminal? What I'm saying is that in the past there have been some flaws, but after the election we will check that all the conditions have been met by all the candidates. This is, once again, a legal procedure. It can't be postponed.
Yes, Mr. Prime Minister, regarding the withdrawal of the Americans from Iraq, a number of American leaders have made statements on possibly changing the agenda depending on the outcome of the next elections. Is that American position? Does it express and reflect the option to amend the agreement between Iraq and the United States?
I have not heard this statement you're referring to. Well, should the circumstances change, maybe the timetable for the US withdrawal might be modified. But let me say quite clearly, if such statements have been made, our security agreement is definitive. It cannot be called into question. So in late 2011, there must not be a single US soldier left in Iraq. That is an agreement that has been certainly made unconditional. But should the government decide that Iraq needs logistical support, it will have to negotiate with the US administration to set up a new agreement.
Are you not ready to review that agreement if you were elected Prime Minister?
I don't have the right to review this agreement without starting again negotiations.
What's your position today?
Right now, this is not necessary. I believe that in 2 years' time, the Iraqi police force, the army, will be ready to face any danger. Maybe we will need some help, experts, advisors, but that's a case of every army in the world.
Mr. Prime Minister, the Western media describes you often as a strong man, a man with an iron fist. Do you think that Iraq needs a strong man to govern it, or that it's a democratic country?
I'll answer your question by asking you a question. Is there one country in the world that could be managed by a weak leader with no authority?
Mr. Prime Minister, you wish to form a government that won't have a political majority. Do you, as you've stated, some people fear that this government, with a political majority rather, will lead to greater divisions rather than a government of national unity?
In my opinion, there is definitely maturity among Iraqis today. They are critical of what's happened in the past. I'm not saying that everything we did was perfect. We have set up a national unity government. It had its drawbacks, but we did what we could. We were scared of the Ba'athist regime of the past might come back, but today I believe there's enough maturity, and the very concept of a national unity government is accepted. Anybody who joins in the electoral fray may gain access to power. Most politicians realize that now they need democracy. Democracy means majority and opposition. So the losers at the general election will have representatives in the legislative body, and there will be some kind of political alternates. Maybe the opposition will have a majority in the future.
At the end of this interview, Mr. Prime Minister, could you turn to the Iraqi people and to the Western countries and meet their expectations?
start off by talking to the West. And I'll say, you have earned the fruit of democracy. You have stable countries. After years and years of ethnic, racist, religious wars and so forth, we would like to tell the West that here in the Middle East we have a nascent democracy that will fulfill all democratic procedures. We will need time, we will need your help, because this is not only in the interest of Iraq itself, but of the region as well, and the entire world, in fact. And I'd like to tell the West that the Iraqi people is a people that understands democracy and elections, despite the scars of the past. A lot of Iraqis have voted in the recent elections, so there's been a change in Iraqi mentality. As for what I would say to the Iraqi people, I would simply say that this is Iraq's fate. This is a duty, a religious and political duty. Every Iraqi citizen must take part in society's life. You Iraqis have gained experience. You have gained credibility. You can assess the credibility of candidates, their political programs. You know who actually walks his talk. You know who's in favor of interference by foreign powers and those who are opposed to it. We want everything to be transparent, and we want you to be able to vote in favour of those who have experience and need to press ahead with their work. So I'll tell the Iraqi people, vote for our list above all.
Mr. Prime Minister, sir, thank you.
Thank you very much.